I am Edgar, a 32-year-old software engineer living in Seattle. 2 years ago, I met Amanda at this cozy coffee shop downtown, and we hit it off instantly. Tonight was supposed to be special, our anniversary dinner at the Crimson Oak, the restaurant we had been saving for this occasion. I spent weeks planning everything from the reservation to the small gift box tucked in my jacket pocket. That was until Amanda texted me last minute saying her college friend would be joining us. I had no idea this dinner would expose the truth about our relationship. Before I tell you what happened that night that changed everything, let me know where you are watching from today, and if you have ever had to deal with disrespectful friends in your relationship. Hit that subscribe button so we can share more life lessons together. Meeting Amanda felt like something out of a movie. I was working on my laptop at Westside Coffee when I accidentally knocked over her chai latte. Instead of getting angry, she laughed and said it was a sign we needed to start over with proper introductions. She was beautiful, confident, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. We discovered we both loved hiking the Cascade Trails, watching classic films from the 70s, and experimenting with international cooking. Where I was more reserved and analytical, Amanda was spontaneous and social. She balanced me perfectly, pulling me out of my comfort zone while I provided the stability she claimed to appreciate. The first year together was nothing short of amazing. We took weekend trips to the coast, hosted dinner parties with our mixed friend groups, and spent lazy Sundays reading together at my apartment overlooking Lake Union. I remember the exact moment I realized I was falling in love with her. We were halfway up Mount Rainier, caught in an unexpected summer shower. While I was calculating how quickly we needed to descend, Amanda pulled me into the rain for an impromptu dance. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. She said it is about learning to dance in the rain. That became our saying. But there was always one cloud that followed us even on the sunniest days. Amanda had a best friend from college named Natalie, who from our very first meeting seemed to have decided I was not good enough for her friend. Natalie was a marketing executive at a trendy startup, always dressed impeccably and never missing an opportunity to make a subtle dig at me. Oh, software engineering must be so stable, she would say, somehow making stability sound like mediocrity. Or Amanda always had a thing for project cases when I talked about renovating my apartment. Amanda never seemed to notice these comments, or if she did, she brushed them off as just Natalie being Natalie. I tried to win Natalie over bringing her favorite wine when she hosted parties, asking about her work, even offering to help when she mentioned computer troubles. Nothing changed. If anything, her comments became more frequent and cutting as Amanda and I grew closer. For our 2-year anniversary, I wanted everything to be perfect. I made reservations 3 months in advance at the Crimson Oak, a restaurant that normally had a 6-month waiting list. I had saved up to make sure we could order anything on the menu without worrying about the cost. I even bought Amanda a delicate silver bracelet with a small raindrop charm, a reminder of our Mount Rainier moment. The plan was simple: a romantic dinner, meaningful conversation about our future, and maybe, just maybe, a discussion about moving in together. Then, 3 hours before our reservation, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Nat is in town unexpectedly. She will join us for dessert. That is okay, right? My heart sank. Not because I did not want to be generous or inclusive, but because I knew what this meant. Our intimate celebration would become the Natalie show, as all our gatherings inevitably did when she was present. Still, I texted back. Sure, looking forward to it because I did not want to start our evening with an argument. The Crimson Oak was everything I had hoped for. Soft jazz played in the background, candles flickered on each table, and the subtle scent of truffles filled the air. I arrived 15 minutes early, nervously adjusting my navy blue blazer and the gift box in my pocket. The maitre d' led me to a secluded corner table with a view of Elliott Bay, exactly what I had requested. At 7:15, Amanda arrived looking stunning in a burgundy dress I had never seen before. She kissed me quickly on the cheek before sliding into her seat, immediately checking her phone. Sorry I am late, traffic was horrible. You look nice, she said, still typing something. You look beautiful, I replied, reaching for her hand across the table. I have been looking forward to this all month. She squeezed my hand briefly before pulling away to grab her water glass. Me too. Oh, did you get my text about Natalie? She is actually going to join us for the whole dinner. Her meeting finished early. Before I could respond, I spotted Natalie weaving through the tables toward us. She had not even waited for dessert. She was wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and was already waving enthusiastically at Amanda. "There is my girl," she exclaimed loud enough for nearby diners to turn their heads. She hugged Amanda for what seemed like an eternity, before turning to me with significantly less enthusiasm. "Edgar. Still rocking the same haircut, I see." And just like that, the tone for the evening was set. Natalie slid into the chair beside Amanda without waiting for an invitation, immediately creating a physical divide at our table. "I hope I am not interrupting your little celebration," she said with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Not at all," Amanda replied before I could say anything. "We were just getting started." The waiter appeared with the wine list, and I selected a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon that I knew Amanda would enjoy. As the waiter walked away, Natalie looked me up and down with an amused expression. "Wow, Edgar, did you dress up for a job interview before coming here? That outfit is giving serious try-hard corporate vibes." Amanda laughed, a sound that felt like a small betrayal. "He does look extra formal tonight." I forced a smile. "It is an anniversary dinner at the Crimson Oak." I thought it warranted the effort. 2 years, right?" Natalie asked, though she knew perfectly well how long we had been together. That is about when things start to get stale for Amanda, usually. I tried steering the conversation to safer ground, asking Natalie about her supposed meeting that had brought her to town unexpectedly. She launched into a lengthy story about her company potentially opening a Seattle office, constantly interrupting herself to remind Amanda of college incidents that excluded me entirely. "Remember that time we broke into the dean's office," she would say, or "just like that weekend in Cabo, right, Mandy?" Each inside joke pushed me further outside their bubble, even though this dinner was meant to celebrate my relationship with Amanda. I noticed Amanda had not once mentioned our anniversary since Natalie arrived. The waiter returned to take our order. I had researched the menu beforehand and carefully selected the seared scallops as an appetizer and the dry aged steak as my main course. Amanda chose a seasonal salad and the salmon. Natalie, without even glancing at prices, ordered the most expensive items, imported caviar to start, and the Wagyu beef with truffle accompaniment for her main. "And another bottle of wine," she added. "Something French and expensive." She winked at Amanda. "Edgar is celebrating after all." As we waited for our appetizers, I tried once more to create some semblance of inclusion. "Amanda and I were thinking about taking a trip to Oregon wine country next month. Have you ever been, Natalie God?" "How boring," Natalie replied instantly. "Amanda, remember when we talked about doing that girls' trip to Miami? That is still on the table for next month if Edgar does not mind sharing you." This was the first I had heard of any Miami trip, and from the quick flash of discomfort on Amanda's face, I could tell there was more to this story. Before I could ask, Natalie launched into another college reminiscence, this one involving an ex-boyfriend of Amanda's, who apparently had been the life of every party. My mind wandered to previous uncomfortable encounters with Natalie. There was the housewarming party at my new apartment where she had accidentally spilled red wine on my white rug, the only family heirloom I owned. Or the time she questioned my career ambitions in front of Amanda's parents, suggesting that software engineering was becoming obsolete with AI and all that. Each incident on its own seemed minor, something I could brush off as social awkwardness or just a personality clash. But sitting here watching her dominate what should have been one of the most special nights of our relationship, I began to see the pattern more clearly. More troubling was Amanda's reaction, or lack thereof. She had never once stepped in to redirect Natalie's behavior or acknowledge my discomfort. The appetizers arrived, providing a brief respite from the conversation. I had barely taken a bite of my scallops when Natalie commented, "Edgar, did anyone ever tell you that you eat so carefully, like a bird picking at seeds? So deliberate." Amanda chuckled. "He is like that with everything. You should see him folding laundry." I felt my face grow warm. It was not the observation itself that bothered me, but the tone. Everything about me was being presented as amusing or slightly pathetic. Speaking of careful planning, I said, trying to reclaim some part of our evening, I was thinking about that weekend trip to the San Juan Islands we talked about, Amanda. The ferry booking's open next week. Oh, that sounds tedious, Natalie interjected. Amanda, what if we did a spontaneous spa weekend instead? Just book something last minute and go wherever the wind takes us. I excused myself to use the restroom, needing a moment alone to collect my thoughts. Was I overreacting? Was this just friendly banter that I was too sensitive to handle? As I walked back to the table, I overheard Amanda and Natalie laughing about something. I caught the tail end of Natalie's comment. Just like that guy you dated in sophomore year who cried when you broke up with him. They both erupted in laughter, quieting slightly when they saw me approaching. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. I had confided in Amanda about my previous relationship and how devastated I had been when it ended. It had been difficult for me to open up about that vulnerability. The idea that she had shared it with Natalie, who was now turning it into a joke, felt like a profound betrayal. The main courses arrived just as I returned to the table, temporarily halting the conversation. I cut into my steak mechanically, no longer hungry, but going through the motions. The food, which I had been looking forward to for weeks, tasted like nothing. So Edgar, Natalie began after a few bites. Amanda tells me your parents are teachers in some small town. That must have been quaint growing up. The way she emphasized quaint made it clear she meant limited or provincial. My parents were dedicated educators who had sacrificed to give me opportunities. They had instilled values of hard work and respect that seemed entirely foreign to Natalie. Millbrook is actually a wonderful community, I replied evenly. My parents have taught generations of students who still keep in touch. How sweet, Natalie said dismissively before turning to Amanda. Remember when we used to go sailing on Travis's yacht? His family had that summer house in the Hamptons. Whatever happened to him, you two were so good together. Amanda looked uncomfortable for the first time that evening. Travis and I were never serious, Nat, you know that. But he was going places, Natalie persisted. Junior partner at 28, family connections everywhere, the kind of guy who could really open doors. The implication hung in the air clear as crystal. Unlike me, Travis could offer Amanda a life of privilege and status. I thought of the simple silver bracelet in my pocket and felt foolish. Edgar and I have been talking about taking a trip to Japan next spring, Amanda said, finally attempting to redirect the conversation. I should have felt grateful for this small effort, but it was too little too late. Besides, Natalie was not done. Japan. On a software engineer's salary. She laughed as though this was the funniest thing she had heard all night. Amanda, honey, you used to talk about staying at the Park Hyatt Tokyo like in that movie you love. Can Edgar really afford that kind of trip? You deserve the full experience, not some budget version. Something inside me finally snapped. Not in an angry way, but in the quiet realization that this was not an isolated incident or a bad night. This was a fundamental lack of respect that had been present all along. Natalie, I said calmly, I would appreciate if you could tone down the personal comments and assumptions about my financial situation. Natalie's eyes widened with mock innocence. Oh my goodness, I was just joking around. Someone is sensitive tonight. It is all in good fun, right, Amanda? I looked at Amanda, waiting for her to acknowledge my feelings, to recognize the pattern of disrespect that had been building all evening. Instead, she sighed and gave me a look that clearly communicated her annoyance, not with Natalie, but with me. Edgar, why are you making this awkward? They are just jokes. They have not felt like jokes, I replied, keeping my voice low to avoid drawing attention from nearby tables. This has been happening every time we are around Natalie. There is a pattern of comments that feel disrespectful, and I am just asking for some consideration. Amanda's face flushed. You are being oversensitive. Natalie and I have always had this kind of humor. It is not humor when it is constantly at my expense, I explained, still hoping she would understand. Would you be okay if one of my friends spoke to you this way? Natalie dramatically rolled her eyes and checked her watch. Should I give you two some privacy for your little domestic dispute? That would actually be helpful, I said sincerely. Amanda's expression hardened. No, that is not necessary. Edgar is just being difficult because things are not going exactly according to his perfectly planned evening. Other diners were starting to notice our tense exchange. A couple at the next table glanced over, then quickly looked away. I felt a mixture of embarrassment and growing clarity. This moment was revealing truths about our relationship that I had been avoiding for months. Amanda, I tried one more time. Do you understand why these comments might be hurtful? Do you see the pattern here? Amanda put down her fork with an audible clink against the fine china. Her voice was louder than necessary when she responded. If you cannot handle my friend's jokes, just pay and leave. The restaurant seemed to go silent, though logically I knew conversations continued around us. In that moment, everything became crystal clear. This was not about one dinner or one rude friend. This was about a fundamental lack of respect and consideration that had been masked by good times and my own willingness to overlook red flags. I had always believed relationships required compromise and acceptance of the other person's friends. But somewhere along the way, I had confused compromise with surrendering my dignity. The realization was both painful and liberating. I looked at Amanda's frustrated face, then at Natalie's smug expression. For the first time in our relationship, I knew exactly what I needed to do, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Without a word, I calmly stood up from the table. I reached for my keys that were sitting next to my water glass, tucking them into my pocket. The gift box with the silver bracelet remained untouched in my jacket. "Edgar, what are you doing?" Amanda asked, her tone a mixture of irritation and surprise. She clearly had not expected me to actually leave. Natalie had a self-satisfied smile, as if she had won some contest I had not realized we were having. She leaned back in her chair, preparing to enjoy what she assumed would be my embarrassing exit or groveling apology. Neither woman spoke as I walked across the restaurant toward the waiter station. My heart was pounding, but not from anger. There was a strange sense of calm washing over me, the kind that comes with absolute certainty. The waiter who had been serving us noticed my approach. "Is everything all right with your meal, sir?" "The food is excellent," I assured him. "I need to make a change to our bill arrangement. I would like to pay for my portions separately." His eyes darted briefly to our table, taking in the obvious tension. With professional discretion, he nodded. "Of course, sir. Let me calculate your items." As he processed my card, I explained I had the scallops appetizer and the dry, aged steak. "Also, please add a 25% tip for your service tonight." "Thank you, sir. That is generous. You have been excellent, despite our situation," I said quietly. Transaction complete, I took the receipt and walked back toward the table. Amanda's expression had shifted from irritation to confusion, with the first hints of worry creeping in. Natalie was still smirking, though, with slightly less confidence. I collected my jacket from the back of my chair without sitting down. "What did you do?" Amanda asked. "I paid for my portion of the meal," I replied evenly. "The scallops and the steak. And I left a good tip." Natalie's laugh caught in her throat as understanding dawned. "Wait, just your portion?" "Yes," I confirmed. "Just mine." Amanda's eyes widened. "Edgar, you cannot be serious. This is childish." "No, Amanda. Childish would be making cruel jokes at someone else's expense. Childish would be disregarding someone's feelings repeatedly. What I am doing is setting a boundary and respecting myself." Natalie's smug expression had completely vanished, replaced by indignation. "So you are sticking Amanda with the bill for her anniversary dinner. Wow." I looked directly at Natalie. "You ordered the caviar and the Wagyu beef. You requested the second bottle of expensive French wine. You invited yourself to our anniversary dinner. It seems fair that you would contribute." Amanda's face flushed deep red. "Edgar, stop this right now. You are embarrassing me." "I apologize for any embarrassment you feel," I said sincerely. "But I think we have different understandings of what this relationship is supposed to be. I always thought it included mutual respect." I buttoned my jacket and took one last look at the table, at the half-eaten meals and the tense faces of the two women. Something shifted inside me, a weightlifting that I had not even realized I had been carrying. "I wish you both a good evening." As I walked out of the Crimson Oak past the elegant tables and soft lighting, I heard Natalie's voice rise behind me. Is he seriously leaving us with this bill, Amanda? Did you see how much the wine cost I did not turn around? The cool evening air hit my face as I stepped outside, bringing with it a sense of clarity I had not felt in months. The valet brought my car and I slipped him an extra tip, suddenly feeling generous despite everything. During the drive home, my phone lit up repeatedly with incoming texts and calls. I glanced at one message from Amanda. I cannot believe you would humiliate me like this. Call me immediately. I placed the phone in the passenger seat and focused on the road ahead. The Seattle skyline glittered against the night sky, beautiful and somehow new, as if I was seeing it through different eyes. By the time I reached my apartment, there were 23 missed calls and 37 text messages. They ranged from angry accusations to confused questions to the beginnings of apologetic backpedaling. I silenced my phone and placed it on my kitchen counter. I moved through my living room, noticing small things that were, Amanda's a book here, a decorative pillow there, scattered pieces of a relationship that now seemed built on shifting sand. The bracelet box was still in my pocket. I took it out and placed it on my bookshelf, a reminder of lessons learned. Around midnight, there was a persistent knocking at my door. Through the peephole, I could see Amanda alone, her makeup slightly smeared and her expression a mix of anger and desperation. Edgar, open up, I know you are in there, her voice carried down the hallway, likely disturbing my neighbors. I opened the door but did not invite her in. It is late, Amanda. I think we should talk tomorrow when we are both calmer. Calmer, you abandoned me at dinner with a $300 bill. Natalie had to cover most of it because I did not bring enough cash. I paid for my meal, I repeated. Just as you suggested I should do before leaving. That is not what I meant, and you know it. She pushed past me into the apartment. You made me look like a fool in front of my best friend. I think you should consider how you made me look and feel in front of your best friend, I countered quietly. Not just tonight, but every time we are together. This is about Natalie. She just has a strong personality and a sarcastic sense of humor. You need to stop being so sensitive. This is not about sensitivity. This is about respect. The constant comments about my career, my income, my background, my personality, the comparisons to your ex-boyfriends, the inside jokes meant to exclude me. The pattern has been clear for months, and I have tried to overlook it because I care about you. Amanda's phone rang, interrupting my words. She glanced at the screen. It is Natalie. The fact that she answered the call even briefly in the middle of this crucial conversation told me everything I needed to know. Tell her I will call back, she said quickly into the phone before hanging up. But it was too late. The moment had crystallized everything for me. I think you should go, Amanda, I said quietly. We both need space to think about what we really want from this relationship. Are you breaking up with me? Over one dinner? No, not over one dinner. Over a pattern of disrespect that became impossible to ignore tonight. I deserve to be with someone who values me and stands up for me. You deserve to be with someone you genuinely respect and admire, not someone you and your friends see as a punchline. Her expression shifted from anger to panic. Edgar, you are overreacting. I love you. Natalie is just Natalie. I will talk to her, okay? I will tell her to tone it down. The time for that conversation was months ago, I said. Or tonight at the restaurant when I explicitly asked for respect. Your response then was the truth. Everything since has been damage control. Amanda left eventually after more tears and accusations and promises to change. I slept poorly that night, my mind replaying moments from our relationship, seeing them now through a different lens. Yet beneath the sadness and disappointment there was a strange feeling of relief, as if I had finally put down a heavy burden I had been carrying for too long. The next morning at work I could barely focus on my code. My team lead James noticed my distraction during our stand-up meeting and pulled me aside afterward. Rough night, he asked as we refilled our coffee cups in the break room. I found myself telling him everything, the words pouring out in a way I had not expected. James listened without interruption, nodding occasionally. You know what surprises me? He said finally. Not what you did, but that it took you this long. We have all seen how Amanda, and especially that friend of hers, treat you at company events. You have man at the holiday party last year. Natalie spent 10 minutes explaining to our CEO why software engineering was, and I quote, a career for people who lack social skills and imagination. While you were getting Amanda a drink. I winced at the memory. I had no idea she said that. My wife asked me afterward why you put up with it. I told her you must really love Amanda. I do. I did. I corrected myself, the reality of the situation settling in. James shook his head. Love without respect is not love, Edgar. It is just dependency or habit. Throughout the day, my phone continued to fill with messages from Amanda. They had evolved from angry to pleading. I cannot believe you are ignoring me after what you did. Please call me. We need to talk about this. I am sorry if Natalie went too far. You know how she gets. Edgar, please. 2 years cannot end like this. I miss you. Can we please talk? I did not respond immediately, needing time to sort through my own thoughts and feelings. Was I overreacting? Was one difficult dinner enough reason to question a 2-year relationship? But deep down, I knew this was not about one dinner. It was about a fundamental lack of respect that had been there all along, hidden beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect relationship. At lunch, Amanda appeared in the lobby of my office building carrying 2 takeout bags from my favorite sandwich place. The receptionist called up, and against my better judgment, I agreed to see her. We sat on a bench in the small park across from my building. It was a beautiful Seattle day, the kind that makes you forget about the months of rain. The irony was not lost on me. I brought your favorite, Amanda said, handing me a bag containing a turkey avocado sandwich on sourdough. Extra pickles. Thank you, I replied, though I had little appetite. Edgar, I am so sorry about last night. I talked to Natalie this morning and she feels terrible too. She did not realize her jokes were hurting your feelings. I took a small bite of my sandwich to buy time before responding. Does she really feel terrible? Or are you just saying that Amanda looked away? Well, she thinks you overreacted honestly, but she agreed to be nicer next time. Next time, I repeated. The words hung in the air between us. Yes, because there will be a next time, right? Her voice had a slight tremor. Edgar, I love you. One bad night cannot erase everything we have. It was not one bad night, Amanda. Natalie has been making these types of comments since we met. What bothers me most is not even her behavior, but the fact that you never once stepped in to stop it. Amanda was silent for a moment. She is my oldest friend, and I was supposed to be your partner. Natalie, she has always been protective of me. She wants to make sure I am with someone who can give me the life I deserve. And she does not think I am that person. Amanda's hesitation told me everything. She thinks you are very nice, but what? Not ambitious enough, not wealthy enough, not connected enough. She thinks I could do better, Amanda admitted finally. But that is just her opinion. It does not mean I agree. Except, you never disagreed, did you? Not once in 2 years did you ever tell her to stop or correct her assumptions or defend me. Another long silence stretched between us. A group of office workers walked by laughing about something, their carefree mood, a stark contrast to our conversation. I think I said finally that maybe Natalie is just saying out loud what you have been thinking all along. That is not fair, isn't it? You laugh at her jokes about my career, my background, my personality. You share private things I have told you so she can turn them into punchlines. You compare me unfavorably to your exes. These are not the actions of someone who truly respects and values their partner. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. So that is it. You are throwing away 2 years over some thoughtless comments. I shook my head. I am choosing to value myself enough to walk away from a relationship where I am not respected. I deserve better than that. And honestly, so do you. You deserve to be with someone you genuinely admire and respect, not someone you see as a step down or a compromise. I never said you were a compromise. You did not have to say it. Your actions and your inactions spoke clearly enough. I stood up, my sandwich barely touched. I have a spare key to your place on my keychain. I will mail it to you. Anything you have at my apartment I can box up and drop off. Edgar, please. Amanda stood too, reaching for my hand. We can fix this. I will talk to Natalie, tell her she cannot make those kinds of jokes anymore. I will be more supportive. Just give me another chance. For a brief moment, I wavered. I did love her despite everything. But then I remembered her words at the restaurant, the dismissive way she had treated my feelings, the years of subtle undermining and disrespect. Some things, once seen, cannot be unseen. I am sorry, Amanda. I think we both need to move on. The weeks that followed were difficult. There were moments of doubt, of loneliness, of questioning my decision. Friends and family rallied around me, many admitting they had noticed the dynamic with Natalie and had worried about it. She always talked down to you, my sister said during one of our weekly calls. I noticed it the first time I met her at that barbecue last summer. Remember how she kept interrupting you and correcting your stories? I reconnected with friends I had somewhat neglected during my relationship with Amanda. I threw myself into projects at work and took up rock climbing, something I had always wanted to try. Slowly, I began to rebuild my life, this time on a foundation of self-respect. 3 months after that fateful dinner, I ran into Amanda and Natalie at my favorite coffee shop. They were sitting at a table near the window heads, close together in conversation. When Amanda spotted me, her expression froze. Natalie glanced over her shoulder and then deliberately turned her back. I ordered my coffee and left without approaching them. What surprised me most was my own reaction, or lack thereof. The sight of them no longer stirred strong emotions. It was simply a chapter of my life that had closed. 6 months later, I met Stephanie at a community coding workshop where I was volunteering. She was a graphic designer trying to learn basic HTML and CSS for her work. We started with coffee after the workshop, which turned into dinner, which turned into weekend hikes. The first time she introduced me to her friends, I braced myself unconsciously. But her friend group welcomed me warmly, asked thoughtful questions, and genuinely seemed interested in getting to know me. There were no backhanded compliments, no inside jokes designed to exclude, no subtle digs at my career or background. Your friends are great, I told Stephanie as we drove home that night. They really liked you too, she replied. Jordan wants to pick your brain about that app idea he mentioned. It was such a small thing, such a normal interaction, but it highlighted everything that had been wrong in my previous relationship. With Stephanie, I felt valued and respected. I did not have to constantly defend my worth or overlook disrespect in the name of love. A year after the night I walked out of the Crimson Oak, Stephanie and I had dinner reservations there for my birthday. I was nervous as we approached the restaurant, memories of my last visit threatening to resurface. But as we were shown to our table, a different table in a different section, I felt the last of those memories fade. This place is gorgeous, Stephanie said, looking around at the soft lighting and elegant decor. Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for being here, I replied, reaching for her hand across the table. Life has a way of teaching us the lessons we need to learn. Sometimes those lessons come wrapped in painful experiences, in moments of clarity that force us to make difficult choices. That night at the Crimson Oak taught me that love without respect is like a house built on sand. Beautiful perhaps, but ultimately unsustainable. Walking away from Amanda was one of the hardest things I ever did. It was also one of the most important. It taught me to value myself enough to expect respect, to recognize the difference between compromise and surrender, and to understand that how people treat you is a reflection of how they see you. If you are in a relationship where you feel consistently diminished, where jokes come at your expense, where your partner's friends treat you as an outsider or a punchline, ask yourself, is this really love, or is it just familiarity? You deserve someone who celebrates you, not someone who tolerates you. Have you ever had to walk away from a relationship that lacked respect? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and like this video so others can learn from our collective experiences. Remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to love yourself enough to walk away. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to demand the respect you deserve in all your relationships.